All right, in this lesson we're going to divide decimals. And there are two different things to think about. First of all is if you divide, if the divisor, the number on the outside, is a whole number, you're ready to divide. If you're dividing into a decimal, the decimal point will go straight up. So place the decimal point directly above the decimal point in the dividend and divide as if you're doing whole numbers. You won't write remainders in these. I think these problems will be rigged so they will terminate. If they don't terminate, there will be instructions about rounding to a certain place value, but I don't think that's going to be the case. Then we need to consider if you're dividing when the divisor is not a whole number, if it is a decimal. Suppose you're dividing by 0.24. The rule is the divisor, the number on the outside, has to be a whole number. So to make this be a whole number, I would have to move the decimal point 2 places. That's equivalent to multiplying by 100. But if you do it to the divisor, you must do it to the dividend also. So we will move its decimal point 2 places also. So now it's here, we bring it straight up, and we divide as if you're dividing whole numbers. All right, let's do it. Let me get some lined paper. There we go. All right, the first problem is 2 into 6.24. This is a whole number, which means the decimal point goes straight up and is a whole number there. And now I ignore decimal points. I'm dividing by 2. 2 goes into 6 3 times. 3 times 2 is 6. Subtract, bring down the next number, which is a 2. 2 goes into 2 one time. 1 times 2 is 2. Subtract, bring down the last number, 4. 2 goes into 4 2 times. 2 times 2 is 4. And I believe, like I said, these problems are going to be rigged so that the remainders will be 0. So we just have to divide till we get it terminates at 0. So my quotient, my answer is 3.12, 3 1200ths. All right, let's do another one. This problem is not a whole number. I have 0.03 divided into 1.98. This decimal needs to move over here. If it moves over there, it has moved 2 places. I need to do the same thing on the dividend, and it looks like an arrowhead. They call it a caret, and take your decimal directly above that. Now I'm just going to ignore it. It's as if I'm dividing by 3. So 3 does not go into 1, but 3 goes into 19 6 times. 6 times 3 is 18. Subtract, bring down the next digit, which is an 8. 3 goes into 18 6 times. 6 times 3 is 18. And I got my 0. We have 66 decimal point. We would not put the decimal point because there is no decimal fraction coming up, so it is merely the whole number 66. So I hope it doesn't bother you when I call them decimal fractions, because that's really what they are. The decimal side, those are tenths, hundredths, thousandths. They really are decimal fractions. All right, number 3. I have 0.12 and I'm dividing into 4.8. All right, the divisor must be a whole number. In order to be a whole number, it has to move 2 decimal places. In order for this to move 2 decimal places, I would have to include a 0 that was not there previously. So sometimes you're going to have to add zeros. I had to go 2 places. I needed to go 2 places. I had to fill in with a placeholder 0 to make that happen. All right, now this is 12, just the divisor 12. 12 doesn't go into 4, but 12 does go into 48 4 times. 4 times 12 is 48. Subtract, I have 0, but this is in the whole number side. So I literally am going to have a 0 there. 0 times 12 is 0, subtract, and I can have the whole number 40. You would have to be careful not to have the answer 4. 4 would be incorrect because there was a gap before the decimal point. All right, let's look at number 5. I'm sorry, number 4. I have 15 divided into 6. Well, I don't have any decimal points at all here, so there's no moving of decimal points, but 15 does not go into 6. I can still divide if I will give 6 its decimal point and add a 0. And I may add more than one 0 because 6 and 0/10 is the same as 6. 6 and 0/100 is the same as 6. So you can add all the zeros you want over here. All right, 15 did, whoops, I'm so sorry. 15 did not go into 6, but it did go into 60, and it goes in there 4 times. 4 times 5 is 20, carry the 2. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 2 is 60. And I didn't do it. There's a decimal point there. If I had left that off, then I would definitely have the wrong answer. My math lab and most people would appreciate a 0.4. It is customary to put a 0 in front of the decimal point. It's kind of like an alert. Here comes a decimal point. All right, let's do one more. We have 0.44 into 0.1232. This is not a whole number, and I need it to be a whole number, so I'll move it 2 places. So I will move this one 2 places, take the decimal straight up. Now I'm dividing by 44. 44 does not go into 1, 44 does not go into 12, but 44 goes into 123. I don't know how many times. I could guess. I could say 44 times 3. That's going to give me 12, carry the 1. That's 13. That's too big. So it is not 44 times 3. Let's do 44 times 2. That's 88. Okay. Remember, 44 did not go into 1 or 2 or 12, I'm sorry, but it went into 123, and we did 2 times, and 2 times that is 88. I'm trying to ignore my decimal points and my little squiggles everywhere. You can't subtract 8 from 3, so you borrow. 8 from 13 is 5. 8 from 1, you can't do it, so it's really 8 from 11, which is 3. And we bring down the 2. I'm hoping that it goes in there evenly. I don't know how many 44s are in this, so I back off and say, well, do I know how many 4s are in 35? I'm just going to guess 8. So 44 times 8. 8 times 4 is 32. Carry the 3. 8 times 4 is 32, and 3 is 35. Yes, it did go in there 8 times for 352. And I subtract, I get that 0 remainder. The answer that I'm going to write down in my math lab, I'm going to remember that my math lab and most math people prefer that you put a 0 in front of just a decimal number. Once again, it's an alert that here comes a decimal point. All right, so go have some fun dividing.